it was the most the difficult time in my life. I wanted to run away, I want to go back to home, and I don't wanted to be monk. That day, I went to the toilet and I opened the toilet window, and from there you have to run, and literally you have to run fast, So I was running without even taking a break. So it's almost like that. There's so many knowledge, but when I feel jealousy, I don't know how to apply it. When I feel lonely, I don't know how to apply it. When I feel fear, I don't know how to apply it. When I get angry, I don't know how to apply it, So after 20 years of monastery and Buddhist institute, I start to feel doubt. Is it really working, or is it just wasted my mind, my life, my time?
In this episode, I sit down with Chogyal Rinpoche, a well-known and respected teacher in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. He is known for his refreshing honesty, for his sense of humor, and a wide range of charitable work that he leads in Nepal, where he lives. We talk about his early years at the monastery, about the hardships that he faced, and how those very struggles became the fuel for his spiritual development. I hope you enjoy this conversation. We're live now. I'm honored to be here with Chogyal Rinpoche. Thank you so much for taking the time for this conversation, Rinpoche.
So thank you for inviting.
We spoke about the series of interviews that we want to do together, and it's dedicated to exploration of the spiritual path step by step. I want to start this conversation with a question about your childhood, about who you were as a child, how it all began for you. What were you naturally drawn to? Just share a little bit, please.
Mm-hmm. So, my childhood, I was born in Nepal, 1985. And age of 1, I was recognized as a reincarnation monk from Tibet. And around age of 5, so I decided to become a monk and wish to go to monastery. And I only remember after when I was 5 years old, because I don't remember before 5, So my childhood I spent in monastery. So it was around, I think, 1989. I think I went to India from Nepal. There's a place called Sikkim, which is near to Darjeeling. Many people know Darjeeling tea, so it's near the Darjeeling. There's a place called Sikkim, and it's border to Tibet, China. And so I became monk when I was 5 years old, and it was not easy in the beginning, because you have to separate from your parents because they have to go back to Nepal, and first time in your life, like age of 5, you have to separate, especially from your mother. And that was very painful time, but it lasts only for 1 week. And after 1 week in the monastery, so you find many other small monk friends. So you start playing with them, you study Tibetan, and you study the alphabet, and so that was more or less like my childhood in the monastery. So I spent, let's say, 10 years in monastery, where you learn all the rituals, and so there were around 100 monks, and so we were mostly learning how to do a ritual when people die, when people get sick, when people business are not going well. So what to chant, what to pray, And so those kind of things, so it's more like a Tibetan Buddhist monastery. So where the Tibetan Buddhism, the Vajrayana, was the main practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you were learning these rituals because this is how the life in the community is structured. So the kids are entering the monastic life to preserve Buddha Dharma, and they're learning all these traditional rituals to accompany the lay practitioners, the lay people in day to day.
Exactly.
And
It's more like because in the Tibetan Buddhism, there is what we call the gradual path. So in the beginning, when you become monk, you have to study all the ritual. So minimum it will take 10 years to complete. And then once you finish that, and then you are allowed to go to Buddhist Institute. The Buddhist Institute is where you learn Buddhist philosophy. And it minimum it will take 10 years. Sometimes it take 20 years or 23 years, 30 years, but minimum 10 years. And then once you complete the Buddhist philosophy, and then there is a 3-year, 6-month, or 3-year, 3-month retreat where people go for meditation, the solitude meditation. So that's how the structure, the gradual from monastery to Buddhist institute to the retreat. So in the monastery, as you said, mostly we are kind of the monks are preparing for the supporting the villagers, or let's say those lay people who need spiritual help. So that's what we are preparing in the monastery.
mm-hmm. So in that sense, you early on learned that Dharma is practical, right?
Yeah,
That Dharma
exactly,
is for living. It's not separated from life. It's not
exactly,
just spiritual path that is lived in the monastery.
exactly. Yeah. What I mean is like you don't you don't feel like you are doing some spiritual. It's just kind of feel like a part of the society. You are just part of the society, and you are kind of doing a service for the society through the ritual. So you don't think like, oh, I'm on the way to enlightenment, or I'm on the way to some kind of spiritual awakening. So I didn't have that kind of feeling. I think in the monastery, I still remember it was I think it was 1991 or 1992. So when I was 6 or 7 years old, and one time they show us the Milarepa, the great Mahasiddha, or the great, the let's say, yogi from Tibet around 11th century. So there was this black and white TV around that time. We didn't have a color TV. So the black and white TV, but it was so tiny, small. And there was so many monks we were watching together. And I barely can see some form, but that evening, it kind of changed my direction of spiritual life. Let's say that planted a seed in my subconscious that I wish to become like a Yogi Milarepa. So before that, I don't know who is Yogi Milarepa. I never heard about him, and I don't know about him. Since then, it was in my, like, let's say, the bone marrow, or it was in my the DNA. So the Milarepa. So that was the, I think, the most, the spiritual, let's say, influence in my life.
So he inspired you. What was
Yeah.
it for those who don't know who Milarepa is? What was it that what aspect of his life story inspired you the most?
No, especially like a Milarepa, and his master, his teacher, is called Marpa. And so Milarepa, did so many bad things, and then Now the Marpa want him to purify all this negative karma, let's say. And on the process of purification, so the Marpa asks the Milarepa to build a 9-floor kind of building, let's say, by one person, by himself. So you can imagine around 11th century, it's not like a 21st century, 11th century, and you have to build by individual, one person. And as soon as he built few floor, and the Marpa asks him to kind of, demolish it. And again, Marpa asks him to build a different type of form or shape, in a different direction. So he did not one time, two times, many times to build and destroy it, build and destroy it. And the Milarepa didn't lost the, let's say, trust or devotion toward his master. And he was going through pain, and his skin came out and the blood in the body, but he was crying, but he didn't give up. And that kind of devotion toward a teacher and for spiritual sake, he can sacrifice his pain, and that was really moved, like wow, that's a real devotion toward the master. So that was really like a kind of touching almost.
Was that something that you then from that point on were seeking yourself? Were you looking to find a master who would move you into that state of devotion?
Exactly. So that was the in me, I was wishing to find a teacher like a Marpa. And so I try many times to go and find, but because of my age, because of I couldn't complete my education, and I waited until I complete the monastery education, and then I went to Buddhist Institute to finish the 10 years of the Kempo study. And then I went to Tibet to search for the master. So it took 3 years, 6 months. And finally, I met my teacher, Repa Churum Tharchin. So he was exactly like a Marpa. Like in that when I was 7 years old, that the scene, it was almost replayed when I met him. So that was really like a kind of the completed the whole circle, let's say, or journey.
That's incredibly inspiring, and just I think teaches us the power of storytelling. If the story was not preserved by the tradition, if it would not be passed down, then you would not be able to envision it and believe that it is true. And maybe you would settle for something else. Because I'm sure you were surrounded by many, many teachers, but they did not perhaps fit the inspiration standard that was set inside of you by that story of Milarepa, right?
Exactly.
So on that path before you went and started searching for your teacher, you at that time, how old were you at the time already when you finished?
25.
You were 25, so you were already
because
an adult.
I became monk when I was 5 years old, and I spent 10 years in monastery. And when I was 15 years old, I completed the monastery education, the rituals. And then I went to Buddhist Institute, spent 10 years. So it's 25 years old.
In that period, before you went on the journey, were there moments where you resisted the path that was unfolding? Or was it easy?
Yeah, it was not easy. It was not easy because I think the two reasons. The one is when I was in the monastery, it was really, really very strict. And the discipline was more, I would say like maybe 10 times more strict and disciplined than the army training, let's say. So also punishment is quite serious if you didn't study, or if you didn't complete your homework, or so it was that I would say from 5 years old till 15 years old, it was the difficult time in my life. Let's say, it was eh, there was there was not one day I was like enjoying. It was like almost I wanted to run. I wanted to run away. I want to go back to home, and I don't wanted to be monk. But unfortunately, even you can't run. There are some monks they try to run away, and they were catched, and they and the punishment was even more severe. So you have a fear even to run away from monastery. So it was a kind of I don't know how to say like uh, now when I look at back, I learn a lot, and I'm very grateful for all the teachers for from age 5 to age 15. But around at that time, I didn't realize it was I'm learning something, and I feel like they are just here to punish me. They just enjoy punishing me. So my mind was not really settled, let's say. But it get little better when I went to Buddhist Institute from age 15 to 25, because there was more freedom. It was not that strict, and the rules were not that tough, and the teacher were more relaxed. But in the monastery, it was really stressful. It was a really, I mean, it sounds like a monastery it should be a very peace and calm, and like a meditating holy, but it was not like that. It was not like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
But in a Buddhist institute from age 15 till 25, uh, there was the time, because you are going through all this, the hormone changing, and you become an adult, and you become a teenage. And because you are a monk now, and you can't fall in love with a woman. And so there were so many school around, and when you see the other young boys are having let's say uh, fall in love, and they're having a relationship, and you feel kind of lonely. You wanted to have that life in the relationship and romantic, and so that was kind of, again, there was a freedom in the Buddhist institute, but something was lacking. You still feel like you're a monk, and you can't talk with the girls, and you can't have a romantic life, and that was again another kind of let's say prison. I don't know. I feel like I kind of wasted my age from age 5 till 15.
Mm.
Literally, like I don't know. I feel like I could do better. It's just I don't know. It's my karma. I end up somewhere in the wrong place. Maybe I could be with a great master, and from age 5 to age 10, I could learn much more if I'm taken care by particular yogi or master, and if I'm under his let's say supervision or mentorship. Let's say maybe I could get more learn.
So for the first part of your childhood, you lived the tradition, right? You lived what tradition says is appropriate for a boy of your age, for a monk of your age. But there must have been a moment where you took it into your own hands. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be where you are today. And what was that moment when you took it into your own hands and you made this path your own?
There is a there's an interesting story how I took how I took into my hand. It was 1999 December. I felt like if I continue in monastery, and it doesn't make any improvement, any change, and my whole life will be just, let's say, wasted. So I I made the whole master plan to how to run away. It's almost like the prison breaker, And I still remember I just start to collect some money for traveling, and I was gathering some courage, and I was like a kind of calculating all the time, because in the winter around December, so there is the puja, the 7 days big prayer is going. And that time, the most of the teachers are very busy with all this, the prayer or puja. And if you can escape, around that time, so you have at least 3 hours gap, so they will not kind of search you. So in during 3 hours, maybe you can reach, you can cross the river, and you will be in the highway. Once you are in the highway, so you can take a truck, because there are so many trucks in the highway, and then you can cross the border of India. There's a Sikkim, and you have the border between Sikkim and India, and there's a border between India and Nepal. So I was calculating for many many months, and at that particular time, I took the life on my hand. So that's how I. Otherwise, I might be still end up in the monastery and literally doing nothing. So so that that day, I went to the toilet, and I opened because the toilet was near to the small forest. And then when you open the toilet window, so you will be back to the forest. And from there, you have to run. And literally you have to run fast, and you have a 3 hour window to reach that highway. So I was running without even taking a break until the highway. And there was so much fear that maybe some elder monk will realize I'm gone, and they will start to maybe 5, 6. The elder monk will maybe chasing after me, and then I will be in the bigger trouble. So once I reached in the highway, and I kind of asked for the truck driver to cross the border, and then I stay one night in the India-Nepal border, and like literally hiding in the most safe place, so that even they come to the border, so they will not find me. So that changed my life. That decision in 1999 December, and I am very grateful to myself that I took that decision and I took the life on my hand.
Wow, this is like I get goosebumps. It's like a Hollywood story.
Exactly.
Break out from the monastery. And so from that point on, what did you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, see, the Milarepa's life story, the Yogi Milarepa's life story is still in me. And 1999, my parents were already moved to Switzerland. My uncle was in Nepal. So I arrived in Nepal, Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal. And I really wished to go to Tibet. And around that time, I heard one master called His Holiness the Jigme Phunso. So he's the one of the great the Nyingma, the Dzogchen masters. And also I heard about there is Lama Achu, His Holiness the Achu. So I really wish to meet these two masters in Tibet. And I request my parents, because I call to my parents who are in Switzerland, and I request them that I allow me to go to Tibet to meet that great yogis, so that I can really start my spiritual journey. But my parents didn't allow me. Parents think like you are just 15 years old, and how you will go to Tibet. and it's not safe and da da da. So they didn't allow me to go, and it was kind of sad. But then I decided, okay, like if I can't go to Tibet, then I will go to study the Buddhist philosophy. Really, I wanted to, because the interesting about the monastery, I have to share it here. In the monastery, you don't learn anything about the philosophy. Like you read a lot, like all the rituals, but you don't know what you're reading, and that's a kind of sad. And like you read the morning prayer, evening prayer, and sometimes like 7 days, like a continue, you have to read and pray, but don't know what am I reading, the meaning of the content. So I had that strong desire. I wanted to know the meaning. So the meaning you can learn from the Buddhist Institute, which we call Shedra, but Buddhist Institute where you can learn. So I went to India, in the North India, the Dzongsar Buddhist Institute. So that's how I start the philosophy journey, let's say.
So the strategy is basically young monks, they're memorizing a lot of the texts, a lot of the rituals, and then when they go into Shedra, they already know it, and then the teachers explain to them, break down the meaning of what they learned. Is that correct?
Not really like that. It's a whole different. In the monastery, the whole ritual is different thing. So in the Buddhist Institute, you have to relearn everything, the new content. You have to memorize completely new content, and you have to study all the different. Because in the ritual, there's no philosophy; it's just different. After the Buddhist Institute, like let's say sutra, and then when you start to learn the tantra, like there's a sutra and tantra. So once you complete your sutra education, it might, as I told you, it might take 10 years or more. And then once you start to study tantra, then it can be connected to the monastery. What you did, all the rituals, it is tantra. So then that will help each other.
Mm-hmm. How interestingly designed. So let's return to that point where you shared that you took life in your own hands. That was the moment when you literally made a change. You made a change in your environment, and you ended up going into the Buddhist Institute. But was there a point where you studying the traditional way, traditional philosophy, led you to internally feeling, okay, now I understand what it's about. Now I understand how to embody it in my life. Now I understand how to live the teachings, not just study the teachings. Was there a moment like that?
Yeah, it's a good question, because when I went to Buddhist Institute, from age 15 till 25, after study for 20 years in monastery, 10 years, Buddhist Institute 10 years, I was still kind of lost. Lost in a sense, it was all in my head, and I couldn't really bring to my heart, and I couldn't really bring to in my daily life that whole teaching, knowledge. It was really dry theory. I knew everything, but I can't put into my real life, and I can't apply in my real life, in the real situation. And I didn't apply, and because nobody really taught me how to apply. It's almost like let's say it's almost like I went to pharmacy, and then I got so many medicines, and I don't know which medicine I have to eat at what situation. There's so many medicine, and I know the name of the medicine, but I don't know how to use, when to use, or why to use. So it's almost like that. There's so many knowledge, but when I feel jealousy, I don't know how to apply it. When I feel lonely, I don't know how to apply it. When I feel fear, I don't know how to apply it. When I get angry, I don't know how to apply it. So after 20 years of monastery and Buddhist Institute, I start to feel doubt. Is it really working, or is it just wasted my mind, my life, my time? So that was the point where I left the Buddhist institute. I completed my study, and then I left. And I could continue there, teach, or as a teacher, but I left. So I went to search for my teacher, and the meaning or the purpose was that number one is because of the Milarepa's Yogi Milarepa's life story still inspired me, and it was still, the fire was still in me. The second reason was, really, I wish that once I met my teacher, so that maybe he will teach me how to apply that so many things that I have. And that happened after 3 years of wandering in Tibet. And when I met my teacher, Repa Chudum Tarchin, and since then the spiritual life changed. It's not anymore there, in my head. It really, really, he helped me to bring down to my heart, and he helped me to bring to my everyday life and everyday action. So then I really start to build this confidence, like, oh, okay, the Dharma is really working. It's a real thing, and it's just not some. When I was reading some great master's biograph, I was laughing when I was in the Buddhist Institute. I thought, like, I see, are they really telling the truth, or are they lying? Because I'm not able to apply it. But later, when I am able to apply what I learn, and my suffering reduce, and my negative habitual, the habits are reduced, and like the joy and happiness in life is increasing, and the quality of life is increasing, awareness is increasing, and that really kind of give me a confidence, like, okay, now I really wanted to teach these things, because it's a real thing. It's not just some theory, it's a real thing. So that happened after I met with my teacher.
How was your experience when you got to that point where you could see that the teachings are working? Did you feel that that was actually a call to action? Did you feel like you wanted to share the medicine, knowing that it's working now?
Exactly. The one important moment was when my teacher recognized or introduced the nature of my mind, which means, like, I used to believe that I'm the problem, I'm the bad one. I feel guilty about my past, and I feel guilty about who I am, and I have a fear of I will go to hell, and that's very strong in me, and a fear of death. I think his main, the important role was to really show me that I am not what I used to think. So he really introduced me, or helped me to recognize that thoughts are not me. And no matter whatever, there's the worst thoughts are not me. And like the ultimate me, ultimate, it's beyond birth and death, beyond right or wrong, or let's say beyond any negative karma. And that was really like a liberation, or enlightened movement for me. Since it was in the beginning, it was like a wow, almost like a great liberate freedom from that fear or death or anything. It's all not me. All those thoughts are not me. And almost like you realize who you really are finally. And I think that was the changing moment for me. And in the beginning, it was like a aha, like a aha. I knew, of course, I study all these theory things, but that when the teacher confirmed it, and especially the teacher whom you so much trust, when they confirm it, and it become a much like a kind of solid, let's say solidified or grounded, or kind of much deeper. It goes very deep. And I think that was the starting point of like where I can apply everything, the teaching in my life. So in the beginning, it was not that strong, that the confirmation, let's say, but it was like a shock. It was like a wow, and it really blessed my mind, let's say. And then it took gradually 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and realizing the ultimate truth, or realizing the ultimate, let's say, the nature of mind. It's getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and more kind of more conformed. And then what I really saw is that before, the problem was in the crucial moment, when the emotion comes, I don't know how to apply it. It just it was like a kind of two people. But once you start to realize who you really are, and that emotions is not, you are not identifying with the emotions. Did you see that? And once you're detached from the emotions, so now you can apply all the knowledge in that emotion, because you are not attached, you are detached. Because why you are detached? Because you are not emotion, you are not that the habits, you are not that negative habits. And it's a I think that was the moment, and now it's getting better. It's not like it stopped the journey. Now it's getting, after a decade, it's just getting better and better and better.
Of course, it's the path.
Yeah.
It's the path. What do you think he did differently? Because of course you knew it. You heard all of those concepts: the realization, the liberation, the enlightenment. What do you think he, as a teacher, did different, that it clicked for you, that you could move this knowledge from the head to the heart?
You see, I wanted to share with all of you that it was not really what he did. It was really like what I did. In a way, I'm just saying it in a way. Of course, there was a blessing and everything was there. But I think the most important is because that it took 3 years for me to traveling all over the Tibet, all over the Himalaya, to search that my idol teacher. And I think that was the most important uh, part of that journey. And then once I met him, and now this is also the most of the teacher they tell you, the teacher is not a really human being outside than you, and it's your nature of mind projecting outside in a nirmana kaya, or manifestation form. It's not really outside. It's your own the rigpa, or nature of mind, or your ultimate truth is projecting outside as a form. So I think it's not about like, oh, there is a teacher and then you go there and you will be changed. I think it's about like your journey will make a very big difference. Like how much, let's say, that he or she, the guru, is important for you. And once he and she is like the most important in your mind or your life, then his or her words have so much impact on you. But I also see many people near him, whatever he says is just not making big impact on them, because maybe they spend there for many decades, or maybe they know him from, I don't know, village, or so. I can see that they're not taking it literally.
Yeah, the
But
law of
for me,
familiarity. Yeah, the law of familiarity.
Exactly.
They say it's not for no reason. They say you can be born sitting on the lap of the Buddha,
Yeah,
but you may not get it at all. So
exactly.
the journey that, from what you're saying, I'm summarizing, the journey that you take as an individual, and the level of your ripeness, it determines whether the seed that the teacher is going to plant inside your mind, it's going to sprout now or it's going to
Yeah,
sprout later.
Exactly.
What do you think people who are just starting on the spiritual path are misunderstanding the most?
Misunderstanding the most is, I think, what I told you, that I am the problem. I will go to hell. I am in samsara. I wanted to liberate. I think that is the problem. That you are identifying yourself with the problem, with the samsara. And I think the right view is so important from the very beginning, the beginner, the right view. And I really like that Dzogchen or Mahamudra, that their right view. They always say that you are already arrived. So when great masters say you are already arrived, you are the enlightened one, you are already awakened. And I think this is the right view. And each one of us, we really have to understand, especially the beginner, that you have no problem. You are not a problem. You don't have any problem. You are just complete. You are complete. You are not like an incomplete and study and learning and meditating and one day you will become a complete. That's a nonsense and that's a wrong view. And you will never ever be enlightened or liberation out of that kind of wrong view. And so I think from very beginning we must accept that I'm complete. When I say I'm not referring to the ego I. And when I say I'm complete, I referring to the natural, the state of who you are. The pure state of mind. The awareness. So the natural state of you is already awakened. We call it Dharma Kaya. And your ultimate truth is never born and will never die. And you don't have to worry about going to hell. And you will be in a samsara because you're never born. And you are the emptiness. So I think that right view from the very beginning is, I think, very important. Otherwise, any beginners, they try so hard to clean their self and they feel they are the dirty one. They are the polluted one. They are the shit one. And I think that is painful. It's almost like the same as the idea of, oh, I'm full of sin.
And that makes it more difficult to recognize yourself, because if you identify yourself with the bad things that you have done, with the mistakes that you have done, then the object of your awareness is always the negative thing. And even though you are the awareness looking at the object of awareness, you can't separate yourself from that. And no matter how many diamond mind meditations or whatever purifying meditations you do, if this is the object of your awareness and never the awareness itself, then I guess it's
exactly.
It keeps you stuck. So if you could look back and you could say something to your younger self who is at the beginning of the path, like an advice, what would that be?
I would say to 5 years old of me that find a great master and just run. It was late when you were 15 years old. You better run when you were 5 years old to find right masters, like really under the right guidance, right mentor. Right now I'm 40 years old. I could begin like maybe 10, 20, 30, even 100 times more like a kind of knowledgeable and more, let's say, advanced in spiritual. So my wish to that my younger self in Buddhist institute study hard the philosophy, because I still remember there was one teacher and he always used to say, oh, dear students, now is your opportunity. Study really. Don't miss your time. Don't waste your time. study as much as you can, because one day you will be so busy you will not time to sit and read and study. And now when I look at back, that teacher was really saying from his experience, because now I'm involved with so many projects and I have to go to this meeting and that meeting to that meeting, and I really don't have the time to sit and read even one book. And I miss those days in the Buddhist Institute, but I kind of wasted a lot of time, But I really wish that young Chogyal Rinpoche, study and read more philosophy books. Maybe that would be a really good. But I'm happy. I'm happy. Whatever happened, it has to be happen.
If someone new is just encountering the spiritual path, what would you like them to know? What kind of advice could you give them if they're just at the beginning?
Again, the same. Really find the great teacher. Under the great teacher's wing or mentor or advice, you grow faster. Wherever you are, however you started your journey, if you feel that Buddhist center or that monastery or wherever, like or teacher or Dharma friends, if you think it's something is wrong, you better run. Don't just stuck and you will be regret. Just if you feel it's something is wrong here, either you are not developing nothing, or the Dharma friends are a little bit too, not really practitioner, and the teacher is not really wish you to liberate. I think you better run and find other teacher as soon as possible. Don't just compromise. And I see many people, they are just go to particular Buddhist center and they find some few friends, and they really want to spiritually develop, but they don't want it to let it go, my friends and Dharma center, now attachment, and then feel like lonely. If leave this Dharma center, I will lose all the friends, and then so much fear, unnecessary. Just let it go. You're here in a spiritual journey. Just let it go and run away if you feel something is wrong or you're not developing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you very, very much for taking the time, Rinpoche.
Thank you very much. It was a really good conversation, and it's almost like going back in my past. It was a good journey.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Seeds of Awakening. If you have any questions to my guest, you can leave them in the comment section below, and we might incorporate them for the future interviews. And if you haven't already, I warmly invite you to subscribe to the channel so that I can keep welcoming other inspiring teachers and practitioners, so that you and I can keep deepening our understanding of what it means to live with intention and presence. Until next time, bye.